Okay, now this is topic 4, measurement and verification, the MNV plan. Okay, before you start with your MNV activity, to do the measurement and reporting the saving, you have to plan what you want to do. So this document is called measurement and verification plan. So MNV is a document that defines the MNV procedures and methods for determining energy saving in energy efficiency project. An MNV plan is the central of proper saving determination and basis of verification. So if you have a good MNV plan, and then you will do the MNV activity according to what you have planned. So you will have a proper savings with accurate saving reported. And I will explain later what are the content in this MNV plan. But basically, this MNV plan describe what are the measurement MNV option that you want to choose, eh? And if it's involved measuring, and what are the measurement point, how many sampling that you need, what are the independent variable that you will consider in your option C. Yeah, so MNV plan is very important so that you are not missing any of measurement or data while doing the MNV activity. So the MNV plan allows to assure transparency of MNV process. Yeah, because your MNV plan will be reviewed by the building owner, by the energy service company, or the regulator involved in the process. And also the MNV plan allows to assure quality and credibility of MNV outcome. You already specified what to measure, what are the data need to be collected. So this assure the quality. The quality who will check your data, your calculation, and this is very important. Also, MNV plan allows to ensure that all data needed for saving determination will be available within acceptable budget. Because you already specified what the data need to be collected, so you will do the data collection according to the plan. Yeah, so it avoid of multiplication or overlapping of measurement where you have to do it over and over again. I experienced this when doing MNV plan. If you don't have a proper MNV plan, you end up with do things repeatedly, do again and again, which increase the budget of MNV plan. So to reduce the error of doing measurement, to reduce the error of modeling, data collection, it is very important to have a robust MNV plan that agreed upon ESCO and also the building owner. There are several processes involved in doing MNV plan. So the first step is to list the ECM project. So what are the ECM that you're going to install in this building? What are the objectives of this ECM? So what you really want from this MNV? You want to report the energy saving from the whole building. You want to see the trending of this energy performance of the ECM, and also to list the constraints related to MNV. So what are the limitations that you think you will be facing that limits your MNV or measurement in the building? or on your ECM. And so sample of objective, for example, to verify energy performance from the ECM continuously. So you want to know basically energy performance is the saving from the ECM that you have installed for a longer time of period where you have to install an isolated meter and to do the measurement continuously and to get the trending of the energy performance of this ECM. Or your objective probably to determine energy from the whole building. So you want to know saving at the whole building level where you can use utility meter as the basis of your measurement. Or you can also uh, aims to verify energy performance from the ECM only. So objective is very important and you will suit this objective with the constraint that you have while doing the measurement. For example, yeah, uh, example of constraint, missing historical data from utility. That means you don't have data or you don't have bills from utility. So possibly you cannot use option C in this case. You may want to choose other option like option B or A or D because you don't have the baseline data in this case. No dedicated utility meters. So this is example in a campus or university building where they have a bulk meter. So then they don't have a utility meter installed at the specific building. So in this case, option C will not be possible. So you may want to install uh, a meter to do option B, or you can also use option C using the isolated meter. High degree of interaction between the ECM. Yeah, so each of these ECM have interaction with each other, and it's hard to separate this ECM to look at the individual energy performance. Or ECMs involve a small portion of the whole baseline energy. Yeah, so you install a number of lighting in a very big building. A small number of LED lighting, for example, in a big building. So expected saving is very small, so it's not suitable for you to choose option C. So because your saving will absorbed by the fluctuation of the variance in option C. Okay, so let's have a look here. There is a flow chart. Uh, flow chart uh, showing the process of doing the MNV plan. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's involved an iterative process. So you list first the project, what are your ECM objective, the MNV objective, and what the constraints that you have. Then based on the objective and also the constraint, then you evaluate and select the most suitable MNV option. So we have learned options available. A, A and B basically is the retrofitted isolation measure, and C is the whole facility MNV, and D you can do both isolated and whole building level using computer simulation. And then evaluate the saving risk and cost for the option. So once you already select, and then for each option that you select, you evaluate the saving risk and the cost. So if the risk is acceptable, uh, no, the option is too risky for you to do it, then uh, you evaluate another option or method. Okay, if the cost acceptable, it's too expensive, and it's not within your budget, and then again you go back and then evaluate another option. So once you have prepared, once you agreed the MNV option that you want to choose, and it has to be agreed between the building owner and the ESCO as well, then you can prepare the MNV document. Okay, I'll give an example of a project that I involved in an educational building where myself and green technician have been appointed as the verifier, yeah, to do MNV for an ECM, for energy performing contract between UNESCO and this educational building. Yeah, so I cannot tell you the name of this ESCO and the building, but let me explain the situation. Okay, so when we did the MMB plan, so we list the project, what are the ECM project that involve in the EPC contract, and also we study the operation, uh, and the constraint involved in the building and also in the ECM to do this MNV. Okay, so in this example, uh, uh, ESCO insists to use MNV option C. Yeah, that is because the ESCO they would just want to know the saving from all these ECM that they're going to install in this building, yeah, so that they can put that they can include this verified saving into the contract. On the other hand, building owner propose to use option A and B and to measure each of these ECM because from the perspective of building owner, they want to have more certainty while doing this MNV. So no one or no party is wrong is and right in this case. But as a verifier, so we use our experience to advise in this case. Okay, so we look at the whole objective. So if we look at the whole exercise in this process, there are about 6 to 7 ECM was installed in the building, and the main purpose to do the MNV, the MNV is to know the whole saving in the building as a basis of the payment from the building owner to the ESCO in the EPC energy performance contracting the EPC contract. Okay, so the objective is clear. Okay, in this, then after that we evaluate the risk and the cost. Yes, if we choose to do option C, there is possible risk that we will face. For example, we may not get the independent variables data collection to do the data collection, or there is a risk of not having a good correlation between the variables and also the energy. However, of using our experience in other university, in other educational building. For this kind of building, since the operation doesn't change much in a year, so there is a possibility to get a good modeling for this kind of building. So the risk of having not to have a good model is low in this case. Okay, then if the cost acceptable, yes, for option C, yes, because we don't have to do measurement for each of these ECM. Yeah, so if we do the measurement for each of this ECM, it incur more cost because there are 6 ECM installs in the building. If you have uh, to do measurement for each of these ECM, it will incur more cost to the building owner and also uh, to the ESCO. Okay, and again, back to the objective of this exercise is we want to get the whole saving. We want to get the whole saving so that we can report it in the EPC contract. And also, we also justify this and convince the building owner that the certainty of this M&V using option C is also will be taking care or by using statistic to make sure that uh, the saving reported is accurate at a certain level based on the statistic and based on the I will say a requirement by the IPM VP. Yeah. There's another case involve a local bank with the ESCO. Yeah. Also, in this case, myself and Greentech Malaysia have been appointed as the verifier to do MNV for an ECM project at this local bank branch. Okay, so 100 branch across Malaysia. Okay, so in this case, we propose option A, and there is a iterative process where involve us to discuss on the independent variables and the cost involved to do the measurement to get these variables. Okay, so one of the variables that we propose is occupancy, and when we discuss, it's hard to determine the occupancy because there is no method, existing method of collecting data occupancy. People go in and go out from this branch bank from this bank. Okay, so then ESCO also doesn't want to put more cost, by putting more staff to do data collection, to see or to count people going in and out from this building. So finally, so we exclude this occupancy from the modeling. So then we choose another relevant variables that we think that it correlate to the energy. Yeah. So this MNV plan, when you do MNV plan, so it will involve iterative process. Yeah. And once people involved or party involved in this process agree with the plan, then after that we can start documenting or writing up the MNV plan document. Okay, step 2 is to evaluate and select the MNV option. So I have explained this in the flow chart in the previous slide. So in this step 2, you evaluate the project, the constraint of the project, and to identify the most appropriate MNV option that suit the objective and meet the constraint. The objective and constraint of the project or ECM must be optimized by the MNV methods. So if the option does not meet the objective and constraint of the project, select another MNV option. So whether to use a single ECM or multiple ECM depending on the objective of the project. Step 3 is to evaluate saving risk and cost of the selected MNV option. So example of risk, as I mentioned in the previous slide, missing data or difficult to get data of independent variables. These independent variables includes weather, production and occupancy in the building. Missing data or difficult to track static factor. So remember, static factor is used for non-routine adjustment and non-routine change in the facility. Degradation of the ECMs, if there is changing in operating hours and if there is no correlation between variables to get acceptable regression model. So I mentioned this earlier. So this will be the risk to the MNV. And complex design of building to do calibrated simulation. So possibly it's hard to do a complex design using the energy simulation model. Okay, example of MNV cost, measurement cost. So this measurement cost is from the meter installation, equipment rental, and also to pay competent person to do the measurement. Yes, and if you use option D, so you have to pay the energy software to buy the energy software for modeling, and also to hire consultant to do the building modeling. Markup MNV design, MNV project management, insurance and tax, and also verifier fee. So if the selected option does not meet the required saving risk and the cost, a new MNV option should be selected and evaluated. The saving risk should justify the MNV expenses. Yeah, as you know, yeah. So, in order to meet this constraint of saving risk, so you have to bear for some cost of choosing another MNV option, which is more costly than the one that you choose earlier. So the MNV plan should be iteratively be refined so to satisfy the MNV requirement and project or ECM budget constraint. So step 4, the final step is to prepare the MNV plan document. So if all the project requirements are met and the saving rates are able to justify the MNV cost, so now you can start writing up the MNV plan document. So these are the elements that should be included in the MNV plan. The first one is the ECM objective. So what is your ECM is about and what are the objective of doing this MNV for your energy saving project. The ECM and the intended results. Number 2, the IPMVP options. So the MNV option that you selected from the option that we have A, B, C and D. Measurement boundary and also if exists interactive effect. So I will explain to you later what is this interactive effect. Baseline document. Yeah, so how long will be your baseline? Yeah, so where to get this consumption data? So where to get the independent variables? Yeah, and how to obtain the static factor. Reporting period. Yeah, so how long is the reporting period? Where to get the consumption data of this reporting period, the independent variables, and also static factor. Number 5, the basis for adjustment in your MNV. Yeah, so what are the conditions for adjustment? Yeah, and to calculate saving, whether you use normalized saving or avoided energy. So you have learned about avoided energy technique. Then I will teach you another technique to calculate saving, which is called normalized saving. And then you specify number 6, what are the analysis procedure that you're going to use. If it's involve algorithm or mathematical models, then you have to specify it in the MNV plan. Also include energy prices. So energy prices is needed because we are not only reporting the energy saving in kilowatt hour, but we are also report in the cost saving, the monetary value. Number 8, the meter specification, especially when you do option A and option B, then you specify the metering point. How long the periods of measurement for option B. For option D, also involve measurement to do calibration of your energy simulation models. Yes, and then you include also the characteristic of your measurement, procedure, and also the uncertainty. Uncertainty in metering, you can see the variance or the error of the measurement from your meter. Also the sampling that you do. Number 9, monitoring responsibility. Since we want to have accurate saving, so monitoring responsibility is very important, especially to monitor the reporting energy data, the independent variables, and also static factor. Number 10, the expected accuracy. Since MNV not only reporting the kilowatt hour, but also reporting the accuracy of your saving is very important, as that reflects the accuracy of your measurement, and also the MNV procedure. So what are the expected level of uncertainty? Measurement, from the measurement, from the adjustment that you do, and also from the modeling. Okay, then number 11, budget. Specify the budget, initial setup cost, and also the running cost. And then number 12, in your MNV plan, also specify how the MNV report will be look like, and specify how result will be reported and documented. And MNV involve reporting a quality energy saving procedure. So you will need also to specify quality assurance procedure. How you maintain, what are the way or what are the methodology that you use, that you will use to maintain the quality assurance. And then number 14 is other than the other than element that I mentioned earlier. For example, option A involve estimation. So you need to report what are the estimation that you will do. periodic inspection, and if you use option D, you specify the software name, where you get the data, and how you do the calibration procedure. Okay, now I will explain each of the components in the M&V plan. So the first one is the ECM objective. Okay, so in your M&V plan document, so first specify the objective of the ECM and the constraint that may arise during the energy saving project. So we have discussed this previously. So example of objective, yeah, so you want to do this M&V to verify energy performance from the ECM continuously, to determine saving from the ECM, considering whole building using utility meter. So this is a sample of objective to verify energy performance from the ECM only, yeah, and to determine baseline data using calibrated simulation model for verifying energy saving, for example, from a new energy efficient building. Yeah, and we have discussed earlier, also list what are the constraints that may arise. For example, if you choose to determine saving from the whole building, which require you to develop a regression model, so they may arise, that there will be a risk that may arise, for example, to get or to obtain the independent variable data, and also to get a good correlation model. And then describe the ECM or system to be installed and its intended result. For example, you want to replace the old inefficient lighting system to a new LED lighting system with less power, and the intended results will be, so you expected that 50% of energy saving from the lighting system will be reported. Okay, so you can also include how much saving that you expect from this installation. Specify the characteristic of the facility, whether your facility is factory, office building, a school, educational building. Specify also the function, how it's operate in a year, operation time, how the occupancy, the type of the occupancy. So basically characteristic of the facility. This is also very important to understand how the facility is operated. Okay, second component in the M&V plan is selecting M&V options and measurement boundary. So basically you already know what is the M&V option. However, we will revisit the type of M&V options, and also to tailor this on M&V option with the measurement boundary. So I will teach you also the interactive effect exists between the measurement boundary and some example. Okay, as you know, there are 4 options in the IPMVP. So option A is the retrofit isolation with key parameter measurement, where you can estimate one of the parameter that constant. And option B, still the retrofit isolation with all parameter measurement. But for option B, you have to do the measurement for all the parameter because the parameters are uncertain. Option C is the whole facility where you want your energy to be reported not only at the retrofit level, but also at the whole facility level. And finally, option D, So option D, we call it as calibrated simulation of using energy simulation software to simulate your energy in the building. Okay, this slide visualize the measurement boundary. So you can see there is a picture of a building, and then here you can see the purple circle, the big circle. So this is the measurement boundary with entire facility. So in this case, you want your saving to be reported within this measurement boundary, which is the whole building. You can also choose a measurement boundary which is only involve a component or a group of components, for example, boiler, chiller, motor, light fixture, pump, fan, and etc. So this is the smallest measurement boundary where your saving will be reported and the measurement will be performed only at this component level. And you can also have a measurement boundary at a system or a group of system. Example of system is lighting system, yeah, HVAC system, the aircon system, heating, ventilation, aircon system, compressed air, and etc. So this boundary is bigger than a component or a group of components boundary. So all the measurement to report saving is within this system boundary. Okay, now we mesh the measurement boundary that we have looked in the previous slide with the type of measurement or M&V option. Okay, if the purpose of the reporting is to determine saving created by the equipment in the saving program. Yeah, so you want to know saving, yeah, created only by the equipment. So what you should do, yeah, so your measurement boundary should be drawn, yeah, around the equipment. Okay, and then all significant energy requirement of the equipment, example for lighting, retrofitting, is power drawn from the lighting and operational hours within the measurement boundary should be determined. Yeah, so parameter outside of this measurement boundary should be neglected. Yeah, so only focus the measurement in the measurement boundary. So this tailored to option A and option B at the retrofit isolation option. If the purpose of reporting is to determine saving created by multiple ECM, so you can see the keyword here is multiple ECM on the entire facility, and the meter measuring energy supply to the building utility bills can be used to evaluate the ECM performance for determining saving. In this case, the measurement boundary is the whole facility, and we tailor this situation with the option C. And remember, to use option C, you must make sure that the saving is large enough. In the case of baseline or reporting period data that are unreliable or unavailable, calibrated simulation program, which is option D, can be used to simulate the missing data. And if you use option D, the measurement boundary can be drawn around the equipment, the system, or the whole facility. What you need is the data of this equipment, system, and the building. Some of the energy requirement of the system or equipment being assessed may arise outside the measurement boundary. Significant energy effects should be determined from the measurement. The less significant energy effects can be ignored. For example, in this case, for example, you are replacing a lighting system, inefficient lighting system, to a less power lamp. Okay, and when you changing this lighting system, so the heat dissipated from this system also less, and it give effect to the aircon system, which is less air conditioning system will be used. So you can see, however, aircon system is not within your measurement boundary. Aircon system is outside the measurement boundary of the lighting system that you have defined. So in this case, the effect of your ECM to the other system outside the measurement boundary. So this effect is called as interactive effects. A more detailed interactive effects, the example. So consider a replacement of conventional lighting, the inefficient lighting, with a more efficient lighting with less power. So the measurement boundary that you draw includes the power to the lights. Possible interactive effects that may arise from this ECM are lower mechanical cooling requirement because less heat dissipated from the lighting system. So less air conditioning is required. Raised heating requirement, this is in the case of cold season country, where when less heating in the environment, so this will require a more heating to heat the environment. Increase reheating of ventilation air, increase plug load from new task lamp if you need more lighting. So these interactive effects, you don't have to include this in your energy saving. However, in your MNV report, you can just mention and give a statement. For example, you just put a statement like estimate that the saving from the interactive effect, there are 20% more saving from interactive effects to other systems during cooling season. If you want to consider this energy saving from this interactive effect as your actual saving, so you have to open up the boundary. For example, in the case of lighting system, so you have to open up the boundary not only the lighting system but also to include the aircon system. However, when you open up this boundary to include the aircon system, so this effect will be no more called as interactive effect, but the energy saving that you are reporting. Okay, the four components of the MNV plan is the baseline and reporting. Yes, so we will look into the baseline data. So where to get this baseline data? Defining the baseline period, very important. So many professional energy professional, they are asking about for how long they're going to take. They're going to measure the baseline period. So we will discuss this. example of baseline period. Then we will look into the reporting period. Yeah. So similar to the baseline data, for the reporting period, we will look into where to get this data of reporting period and how to define the reporting period. And also we will touch on the adjacent measurement period. The baseline data. So baseline data must include the following for the specified baseline period. So what are the data? The energy used in kilowatt hour and the demand data in kilowatt. You also need the independent variables data, which is used for routine adjustment in the saving calculation, and also the static factor data, which is used for non-routine adjustment in the saving calculation. Okay, example of independent variables, as you know, we have been mentioned this before, is the weather. In the office building, you can have variables like number of working days. You can also have variables production in a factory. Static factor, we haven't touched this detail on this static factor. We will look into it later, but used for non-routine adjustment. So these three type of data are required for the baseline data, especially for option C. Some of this data is not required in other option. For example, option A. Option A will not require independent variable and static factor data because you are reporting energy saving only at the retrofit level, which has measurement small measurement boundary, which doesn't include independent variables and static factor in this measurement boundary. Okay, where to get this baseline data? So for the energy data, you can have this baseline energy data from utility meters or bill, especially when you choose option C. Because option C, you need a monthly electricity bills, so where you can have this from the utility meter. You can also have special meter isolating a retrofit or portion of a facility from the rest of the facility. For example, for the lighting system, so you install a special meter at the distribution board to measure the lighting circuit. Or for a chiller, you need a special meter to measure the energy performance at the chiller system. So which is these are referring to option A and option B. And you can also obtain the baseline data from computer calibrated simulation. As you already know, option D is usually used when you have a missing baseline data where you can get this baseline data from calibrated simulation. Where to get the independent variables data? For weather data, you can get this weather data from meteorological department or government weather station. For example, like in my case, in my experience of getting this weather data, what I did is to calculate the cooling degree days. Cooling degree days are the parameter, the variable data that influence the energy use in the building. However, to calculate this cooling degree days, it require minimum and maximum temperature. So where I got this minimum and maximum temperature, so I request it from meteorological department. So I wrote to them Yeah. So what are the data that required? Yeah, minimum and maximum temperature, daily minimum and maximum temperature, uh, and then for how long? For baseline data, if you use option C, so baseline data required a 1 year data. So I will require a daily minimum and maximum temperature for a 1 year period. Okay, then meteorological department will send you a quotation, eh, a quotation, and then you pay them. You can do online transaction. Then they will provide you the data. Yeah. So you can also get these uh, independent or weather data from free weather data portal. Yeah. So there are some weather data portals that you can access freely. Yeah. However, uh, from my experience of using data from the weather data portal and meteorological department, when I model the correlation between this weather and the energy in the building, it's not so, it doesn't give me a good correlation. This is because when you get the data from the meteorological department or weather data portal, the data that you obtain is at the location that is not the close the nearest location to the location that you requested. It's very difficult to really get the data that at the location that you required. Yeah, so to have accurate weather data, it is good if you plan it earlier by installing weather sensor at your building. Okay, so by using a weather sensor, and then you can get the weather data from at the exact location. So other variable data, for example, occupancy, for example, operating hours, yeah, what else? Production. You can request or you can get it from the facility logs in the building. Okay, so data from the static factors. Yeah, okay, you can also get static factor data from facility log. For example, uh, expansion of the size of the building. So during the baseline, you have this area of building, but after during the reporting period, there are expansion of the building, and now the size area of the building become bigger. So you can get this data from facility log, from the database information that you can get from the building owner. Static factor also can be obtained from monitoring the change in this static factor. Okay, data from utility meter. So data from utility meter, you will get a monthly data and usually used for option C, whole facility measure. Okay, so provided by electricity, gas and water utilities to measure and record utility energy use for billing purposes. So what are the advantage of using utility meter? You can have a sources of historical data with best accuracy. So you can get this historical data. For example, here in Malaysia, you can request it from TNB. What does it mean by best accuracy? So best accuracy means the meter or the measurement is done by a third party, and usually utility meter is considered has a zero error because we have to pay the bill according to this measurement from this meter. No capital or O&M cost involved to the facility owner and contractor. Yes, because you don't have to do installation and to do maintenance of this meter because this meter is belong to other third party. And only small cost is required to get the data from utility, especially the historical data. If you need a 3 years back data, then you can go and request to TNB and you just pay a small amount of money. Data are measured and recorded by independent party. So that's good about it, as I mentioned. So you are using a metering equipment that is belong by independent party that has no interest on the saving outcome. However, there is disadvantage of using this utility meter. One of it is utility meter measure the combined energy to the whole facility and do not usually measure energy to separate buildings or part of the facility. For example, in a big organization or in a university campus where they have one bulk meter and there are no separate meters installed by TMB at the building or part of the facility in the organization. And the meter reading periods for manually reading meter are not usually on a calendar basis. And the billing periods can vary between months. But this is not the case today. So from my experience, when I look at the TNB bill, most of the time they measure it according to the calendar from the first day of the month to the end of the month. But also from my experience, you must be careful when you do MNB using this utility meter to make sure you look at the period of measurement in the utility bill. There is one case about 2 years ago when TNB issue bills which is a bit late and took like about more than 30 days of the periods because they're changing a meter. So you have to be very careful. Otherwise, your data, the energy data, will not be in a monthly basis. Okay. So this utility meter, as I mentioned earlier, this is used for option C, the whole facility measurement. Other than utility meter, you can also get the energy data from isolation meter. So isolation meter or submeter are used to measure the energy supply to part of the building in a facility. Okay, and these submeters are usually owned, maintained, and read by the facility staff and not the utility staff. So the accuracy of the submeters are usually less than utility meter. So as I mentioned earlier, we consider utility meter has 100% accuracy because we pay the electricity bill according to this to the utility meter. So the accuracy of the submeter, you should note it by looking at the tolerance. Tolerance of the meter specified. You can look at the meter that is labeled and mention the tolerance of the meter. So when you use submeter, you must make sure that your meter, the accuracy of your meter must be adequate for MNV purposes. So the major disadvantage of submeter is often installed to monitor the performance of ECM, and therefore no pre-retrofit historical data can be obtained. So usually uh, when building owner or when ESCO want to verify the energy saving from the ECM project, then at that time they install the meter. Now in such case, you will not get the historical data from this submeter. To get the baseline, you have to install and put the meter at the part of the facility, and you have to do measurement of the baseline. Error from submeters must be properly managed to reduce the saving uncertainty. So this can be done by doing meter by calibrating the meter, maintenance, and a good meter reading skill. So submeter can be used for option A and B, retrofit isolation measure, and depending on the measurement boundary that you define. Okay. Now we go into more detail where to get this data for independent variables. Yeah. As I mentioned in the previous slide, data for independent variable, for example, weather data, can be obtained from government meteorological department and weather data portal. When I said weather, when we doing MNV, the parameter that we use or we do for correlating energy with the data, with weather data is cooling degree days. Yeah, so cooling degree days is a difference between the ambient temperature outside your building with the baseline temperature that you set in the building. So this different temperature require air conditioning system uh, to accommodate this different to achieve the base temperature that you set in the building. So there is a formula for cooling degree days which require uh, a minimum and maximum temperature, daily temperature. Okay, so if you need this data, this temperature data from meteorology department, so you need to mention the frequency of the data that you need. Okay, if you do option C, so you require a baseline data of 1 year, a monthly data for 1 year, then you need to request a daily minimum and maximum temperature to calculate a monthly cooling degree days for a 12 months period. Okay, so you can go to the Malaysian Meteorological Department, Met Malaysia. So I provide the website there, www.met.government.my, and it requires some cost depending on the amount of data requested. So as I mentioned earlier, Met Malaysia will issue invoice based on the data that you requested, the amount of data that you requested, and then you pay it. I usually pay it online, and then they will email you the data. Yeah, but be careful. You have to check this data. I have experience of getting some data which is missing, probably because of the sensor, because of the sensor error or the fault on the sensor. Okay, other than meteorological department, you can get this weather data or temperature data or cooling degree days itself from the weather data portal. So some weather data portal, for example, AccuWeather.com, wunderground.com, and degreedays.net can provide you the cooling degree days. What you need is you just specify the period of data required, a specific date, a specific month that you need the CDD data, cooling degree days data, and also the base temperature in the building. However, as I mentioned earlier, from my experience of using weather data from Met Malaysia and from data portal, I didn't get a good correlation. Frankly, very weak correlation. That is because the data obtained is not exactly at the location that I need. Yeah. So you can only get weather data from the nearest weather station, of the location that you requested. So another way of getting accurate weather data is by installing weather sensor. Yeah. However, when you install weather sensor, it's hard to get historical data, weather data from this weather installation, sensor installation in the building, because usually what happen is when you want to do the MNV, then at that time you install the weather sensor, and it's hard for you to wait for 1 year just to get weather data from this weather sensor. Uh, but if you use meteorological and also if you use weather data from weather portal, you can get the historical data where you don't have to wait for the measurement. Other independent variable data such as occupancy, operating hours, schedule, and production level usually available from administrative and facility log at the building. Okay, the energy professionals always wondering how long should be the baseline period. Eh? Does 1 year energy data from utility bill is enough for the baseline period, or 3 years or more data are needed? Okay, so in this slide, we will learn about how to define the baseline period. How long? Okay, so according to IPMVP, the baseline period should cover, should consider a full operating cycle from the maximum to the minimum energy use in the building. Yeah. So how to define this? You can plot the energy use in the building and identify a trend or repeating pattern from the energy use. So if you have monthly data, the utility bill data, you can get it the data for 3 years data and try to plot and see the trend or repeating pattern from this 3 years data. Okay, and from there you can see how long is the repeating cycle occur. Okay, same goes when you use submeter. For example, you measure energy used from a chiller system. You measure for several weeks and then try to plot, identify the repeating pattern from this measured energy use. And you identify the measurement period, the period of one cycle. So this is usually done during energy audit to define the baseline period. Also, when you deciding the baseline period, to include the time period where all the static factor independent variables and energy use are available in the facility. So make sure that the baseline period chosen is immediately before the ECM installation. And be careful, a period further back in time will not reflect the condition exists before retrofit. Hence may not provide a proper baseline for measuring the effects of the ECM. For example, if you want to do, you have a plan to have an energy saving project in year 2020, so your baseline, 1 year baseline, should be in year 2019, 2018, that is immediately before the year that you plan to install the ECM. Or if you choose option A or option B, to make sure that the baseline period, if it's before the week or immediately before you install the ECM. To further understand the trend and repeating cycle, so I plotted this graph. So this graph is the data obtained from the monthly electricity bill for a several period from 2009 to 2012. So this is data from an office building in Putrajaya. So you can, and I plot it according to the year. So from the first observation, you can see there is a similar pattern occur for each year. And uh, these patterns are influenced by the calendar event in 1 year. Okay, so for example, you can see here January, the start of the school, the start of the new year. So the energy was a bit higher. Then in February, because the calendar has only 28 days, so any building will report a lower energy use. Now for this case, also Chinese New Year occur, happen during February, and many people took leave to celebrate and to have holiday with family. And then after that, you can see the energy increase in March, April and May, which is also due to the effect of weather, which is usually the weather are quite are hotter in this month compared to the other month. And for this, within this period, you can see there is a drop in energy in August and September because people were taking holiday to celebrate Hari Raya. And then you can see another peak in October where there is no event or holiday happen in this month, and the energy started to drop at the end of the year. This is because again a holiday celebrating Idul Adha, Christmas, and also school holiday. Furthermore, we also know that the weather are a bit colder because of the raining season during the end of the year. Yeah. So when you look at this trend and repeating cycle, so what are the baseline period for this measurement? Yes, a 1 year period should be set for this measurement of using utility monthly utility meter as the basis of measurement. So 1 year period uh, of the one cycle is sufficient as a baseline for option C. Example of baseline period. So whole energy consumption in a building is significantly affected by weather condition and also calendar event. So you can see this from the plot that I show in the previous slide. So in this case, to consider a full operating cycle of energy use from minimum to maximum energy from the monthly electricity bill, so a whole year of baseline data is required. On the other hand, energy use of a compressed air system may govern by production level of a factory, which vary on a weekly basis. Therefore, 2 weeks data may be sufficient for the baseline. So to define how many weeks required for this baseline data, so you may plot the energy used from this compressed air system and identify the repeating cycle. And then you observe, you look at for one cycle of this energy use from minimum to maximum, how long the time takes. Okay, for option A, remember example that we did last time, where we measure the power from a lighting circuit. So the measurement usually done instantaneously. So one of measurement. So the baseline period is instantaneous measurement. For a chiller system or compressed air system, which is usually governed by the production or the cooling load required in the facility. So usually the baseline data require several weeks of data. So you can see, you can check by plotting the energy use of this retrofit, the ECM, and from there you can identify the measurement or the baseline period.